Hello! I'm officially done with my master's, which means it's time to get back to reading, and it's time for a reading update. So I did do a little bit of reading while I was in school, not a lot, and most of it was manga, but we'll get to that in a second. Let me show you the first book that I read, which was back sometime in February. The first book on the reading update is Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 1 by Gege Akutami. I started watching the manga, became obsessed with it, stopped watching the manga, decided I had to read the anime. I just said that backwards, didn't I? I was watching the anime, became obsessed with it, and decided to stop watching the anime so that I could read the manga first. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. So I paused that and I am reading the manga. You watch the anime, you read the manga. I need to go have some coffee. Anyway, JJK Volume 1, I'm obsessed. I think the entire JJK thing, the universe is very interesting. So that's what I read. And then we move sort of swiftly, into more manga. After reading JJK, I decided I really wanted to continue reading more manga. So I picked up Delicious in Dungeon. My fiance hadn't heard of this. I'd never seen anyone talk about it, but it seemed really fun. It seemed very D&D adjacent, and I'm becoming really, really interested in D&D, so I decided to pick this up. This follows an adventuring party that's gone broke. They have no food and no money, and they need to go rescue one of their missing party members. So they decide they're going to enter the dungeon and eat the monsters along the way. And I thought that was a really fun, interesting premise. Obviously, it's going to get more serious than that, but I do think it's really interesting. So I read Volume 1. I got obsessed, so I read Volume 2. Then I immediately read Volume 3. Then I ran back to the bookstore to pick up 3 more copies and got Volume 4 and read that. So, of course, that means I ended up reading Volumes 5 and 6. So I'm just kind of left in the middle right now. I have to get the rest of the volumes so I can read them or see if my library might have them, though I don't think they will. Their manga section's a bit... Then I decided to pick up 2 books from the library. I got these as audiobooks through Libby, and it was book 2 in the Neon God series by Katee Robert. It's Electric Idol by Katee Robert, and it follows Eros and Psyche, and that was very interesting, if a little ridiculous. But it was fun nonetheless. And then I read Wicked Beauty by Katee Robert, which follows Achilles Patroclus and Helen of Troy in a very juicy, fun threesome setup, polyamorous relationship that starts off as just fun threesomes. This is really good. I really do enjoy Katee Roberts' romance books. They're the ones that I love the most, honestly. I have not found an author that really scratches that itch quite like she does, even though I really do like Navessa Allen and Bryn Weaver. So, yeah. I continued on with some more dark romance, actually. Speaking of Navessa Allen, I read Game On by Navessa Allen. This is the 3rd book in the Into the Darkness series, and this follows Tyler, the finance bro roommate asshole. And unfortunately, I really didn't like this book. I had a lot higher hopes for this and was left with a very unsatisfied, bored feeling in the end. This is supposed to be an enemies to lovers. It's very hard for books to get that right, in my opinion. So I don't feel like it was a very good enemies to lovers. It was a very rushed, convoluted enemies to lovers, which I know the whole series is a little silly. But this one specifically, I didn't find it as fun or entertaining. I don't really like Tyler. I don't care. I didn't like the female love interest. I forgot her name. Stella. I didn't like Stella. I don't like rich people problems. I don't care. Oh, boo-hoo. I don't want to have grown up to money. I don't want to have privilege and my bills paid. Shut the only thing I could think about the entire time Stella is talking, I'm like, babe, I need you to shut up. She wants to cosplay as poor. And that alone pissed me off. Babe, I don't care the circumstances either, because if you've read the book, you're going to know, why she doesn't want to be around her uber wealthy family. But again, I don't care. I don't like the trope of rich people getting to cosplay poor. Some of us actually can't pay rent. I digress. So yeah, besides hating Stella, I don't really care about Tyler. The whole thing was just annoying. The whole like underground poker ring is stupid, and the pacing was a bit off as well. Like the end, like the whole book is kind of dragging. There's a lot going on, and then all of a sudden we're trying to wrap up this book in the next 10 pages. We've got 10 pages and everyone has to go. Disgusting. Did not like. Very disappointed. Will I still read other things Navessa Allen writes? Probably. Yeah, I will check them out. But this book has third book syndrome. It just has third book syndrome. Just like the other series by Bryn Weaver, where it had third book syndrome. I don't like third books. Clearly, I have an issue with third books. I promise I'm done yelling about Stella. I'm really sorry if I yelled in your ear. So let's move on. Oh, that's it. That's all I've read. Never mind. We have nowhere to move to. I'm actually reading another romance book. Yeah, I know. Another one. Priest by Sierra Simone. I'm going to say Simone Biles. No, the Olympic medalist has nothing to do with this book. This is Priest by Sierra Simone. This is exactly what you think it is. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a priest romance. Say what you will. Condemn me if you must. But let me tell you something. I went to Catholic school. There's nothing you can tell me that they didn't try telling me already. Okay. I visited the seminary. I feel like it should be clear. I'm making a joke of this. Please don't go harass real priests. Don't be weird, okay? Like, yes, I'm making a joke that they're handsome and good looking and it's interesting and it's fun. Don't harass actual priests, please. I feel like I shouldn't have to say that. But the current state of things has me imagining that some of you guys don't know how to take that joke. So I'm going to say it right now. That's a joke, okay? It's meant to be funny. It's not meant to be taken in super seriousness, okay? Anyway, this is a priest book. This is a priest romance. And I picked it up because I was bored. Ronaldo actually found it in like a random section. He was like, do you want to try this? And I'm reading it to my friends. Like, we open a chapter and we read it to each other. And we're laughing about it and yucking it up because the book is actually really poorly written. So, like, when I think priest romance, I think yearning and a lot of forbiddenness. And just, like, 90% of this book should be, like, him pining and having all this guilt and the very Catholic experience, right? No. He's just horny. That's it. He's horny. We're like 8 pages in. I don't know this man's name. He doesn't know her name. But they want to fuck. No. There's no build-up. There's no chemistry. This actually, the best way that I can describe this is it sounds like an adult film video. If you know, you know. It feels like a poorly scripted adult film. There is no chemistry here. They don't like each other. I don't actually believe that. Like, they feel so forced. There's no chemistry. There's no sexiness. There's no yearning. There is nothing of what would make a good priest romance in this priest romance. Which is really disappointing, because if I'm going to read a priest romance, it better be good. I'm not enjoying this, but I'm going to finish it, because I'm stubborn, and we must finish the priest book. Update, because I finally gotten myself together, and I have a reading update for my summer reading. I finished reading the entire series of Delicious in Dungeon by Rkoyo Kui. This is a very fun manga that deals with the idea of hunger and desire and want, which I think are all very much under the umbrella of hunger, a deep sort of hunger. So I really enjoyed this. It was both very funny and very dark at times, so I really enjoyed the juxtaposition between the two, and I really love this. I would happily reread this manga, so yes, I read all of that. I then mercifully
to myself mercifully. DNF'd Priest by Sierra Simone. This is a priest romance book that could not commit to the bit. And what I mean by that is there's two types of priest romance. There's priest romance where the priest is very repentant of what he's doing and he very much does not want to fall in love. And notice here that I say fall in love, not lust over a random woman, because that's all that's going on here. There's those types of priest books which are very long and they're very angsty, and that's all good and fun. Or there's priest books that are committing to the bit where the priest is not a good priest, he's a very corrupt priest, and he's doing everything a man of the cloth should not be doing. This book, however, is just annoying. Father Tyler is having a crisis, a religious crisis, every other line, every other page, and it's just ridiculous because there's no chemistry between him and Poppy. In fact, the book at 90 pages had so much random sex happen that I was just flabbergasted, because really there's no good plotting behind this, and it's really poorly written. So I was just happy to be done with it. Like, I don't want to look at this book ever again. I never want to talk about this book. I am so over this book. I feel like it's been haunting me in the worst way possible. Like, I am actually, it just sucks. And I can't. I also read Frieren Beyond Journey's End, Volume 1, because I was really in the mood for fantasy manga, so I obviously had to jump into Frieren because D&D style fantasy nonsense is what I'm after, apparently. Finally, I read The Dreadfuls by Rae Dunlap. This is a historical fiction book that follows a young woman who has been sent to a reformatory because she is obsessed with Penny Dreadfuls, and her obsession will lead her to try to solve who is behind the Jack the Ripper murders. This was a really fun read. I did give it 4 stars, and the only reason that I'm not going to give it more is because something about the later half of the book felt very haphazard in a way. The author notes in her author's note that she does not care about Jack the Ripper, but she does care about the socio and economic going-ons of the time period of Jack the Ripper and why Jack the Ripper was never caught due to xenophobia, racism, etc. in the police force. And I think that's really interesting, and I do think it shows in the book. However, there's a however, I feel like in trying to put all these little pieces together that she's picked from history, it feels a bit haphazard and things are a bit loosely related in a way that if you think about it too hard, you realize, like, ooh, it's not that great. It's not that well held together. I do think it's a really fun book. It's a really good historical fiction. I like the way it was written. There were 2 instances, again, towards the end of the book, particularly, where I thought something that the character said sounded far too modern. So there's something about the end of the book that just felt a bit haphazard, as if maybe things were rushed or edited a bit poorly. So for that, I did give it 4 stars instead of 5 stars, despite the fact that I really, really did enjoy this book. It has a really interesting gothic setting, and it has a really interesting set of characters. Like I said, the author really wants to talk about the xenophobia that impacted the Jack the Ripper case. And so there is a character that is Jewish, and his family is being persecuted specifically because they think that he might be related to these murders. But there's just something that's not quite clicking, and it leaves something to be desired. I think maybe there had to be a little bit more of a reined-in focus on what aspect specifically the author wanted to tackle. Maybe that might have helped. I'm not really sure. I don't know how to talk about it specifically without spoilers, so I don't want to spoil anything, but I do feel like there's just a little, like, you can tell that the character of Jack the Ripper is not the important part of the book, which is interesting. It's very different than typical Ripper books, where Jack the Ripper is, like, the more important character, whereas in this book, the other characters are far more important, and there's a lot of interesting things going on with the side characters, but they're very loosely held together, and so towards the end, it starts to feel a bit like, if you look at it too hard, you can tell it's not put together that well. But overall, I do still think it was really fun, and if you enjoy historical fiction, you might really enjoy this book, especially if you're looking for something a little different. I've never read a book set in a reformatory. So yeah, this is a really good book. I did enjoy it. I do think it is a good book. I think it's imperfect, which is fine. And that leaves me with what I'm going to be currently reading next. Not directly related to my summer reading challenge is my Oxford freshman reading list challenge that I'm doing for myself. So I will be reading Jane Eyre, but I'll be talking about that in a separate video. I'm also really sick and I'm so tired. Not on my TBR, but something that me, Kat, and my friend Maddie are also doing together is we're reading like 3 different books together, but we're starting off with The Courting of Bristol Keats by Mary E. Pearson, and I will admit, I've read what this book is about, I've looked into it, and I don't remember what it's about. All I know is that Kat got ahead of us in reading, and so I have to get to page 129. I'm on page 38 so far, and I'm not sure how I feel about it so far. I mean, I haven't really gotten anywhere to form a particular opinion on it. Just that I can feel there's this juxtaposition between like this magical kind of world and the like modern real world. And I'm sure that's going to come into play somehow. But yeah, I will update when I have more done. I do have about 56% of my reading list done for the summer, so I'm very, very excited about that. And I will check back in when I've got a little bit more done.